Okay. Give me 1 second. The speaker sounds a little bit low. I don't know why it's doing that.
I can hear you clearly.
Why my sound is not exactly what it's supposed to be. Output speaker 100%. I don't know why. Okay. Can you hear us okay, Parrots?
Yeah, I can hear you. Baruch Hashem.
Okay.
Yeah, please God, I travel back to Bet Shemesh. Can you hear me?
Not as loud as yesterday. I don't know what's
Ah,
wrong with the sound this morning.
I'm traveling back to Bet Shemesh soon.
Oh, okay.
I'm traveling back to Bet Shemesh
Oh, okay.
soon after we've finished the shiur, and then but I'm going off with hopefully going off with the greybeards on Sunday, so I won't be in attendance on Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday of next week.
Oh, okay. Enjoy.
And because we're touring, so I probably will have to listen to the recording.
Oh, okay. Okay. Enjoy the tour.
Thank you.
Okay, let me hopefully I'll figure out the sound here. Alan's coming in. Okay. Alan's joining us. Okay. Morning, everyone. A little bit of a late start with the technical issues here. Morning, Alan. Okay. So as follows, we're going to start with the story. Well, we're on Daf Nun Ches on the base 58b, right by the Mishnah, right at the Mishnah. Start with the story. I heard the story this week. I think I may have said it before here. I'm not sure. So if anyone remembers it, great. If you don't remember it, then it's great too. It's a good story. I found the story from Michiel Sparrow. Yeah, Sparrow was written many storybooks, and it's a very interesting story. You may have heard it before. I apologize, but it's a good story. There's a Hasidic group that was touring Italy. They were in a tour bus. They were touring Italy, the various sites of interest in Italy, whatever those may be. And they saw it was getting late towards the end of the day, so they wanted to stop for mincha. The tour guy said, "Listen, we're not in Brooklyn, we're not in Yerushalayim. There's a very not the locals aren't so friendly. They don't take to people who look different, and certainly not Jews. So maybe we can just, maybe just stopping on the bus." And then they just said, "No, we're going to stop at the local gas station, the rest stop, whatever, and we're going to go petrol station, petrol, and daven mincha there." So the tour guide was very uneasy about this, very, very uncomfortable with it. But they insisted, and they're the paying customer. So they went out of the bus, and they were mulling around, getting ready, putting on their gartels and washing their hands, whatever they were doing. And all of a sudden, a guy in a motorcycle pulls up, the full motorcycle gear, leather jacket, tattoos. You get the picture. He pulls up, and the tour guide is thinking, "Oh, great, this is what I was waiting for." And the biker gets off his bike, walks over to them, and goes, "Mincha?" And they say, "Yes, as a matter of fact, we are daven mincha." Says, "Do you mind if I join?" He says, "Sure." They daven mincha. He joins them. Says, "Thank you." He says, "Kaddish." He says, "Thank you very much." He's about to get back on his bike and drive away, but curiosity got the best of the majority of the group. And they asked, "Do you mind if I was asking? You don't look like the typical guy who stopped at the rest stop to catch a mincha. Well, can you tell what's going on over here?" So he told them his story, his life story. It's usually what happens. He says he grew up wherever it was, and he fell out of religion, being Jewish, being frum, and went kind of quite far from being frum. And as his father was getting older and about to pass away, his father told him, "Please promise me you'll say Kaddish for me on my yurt sites, for the first year, 11 months, and then for yurt sites also." He says, "Dad, do you know what my mouth says? You know what my mouth eats?" He says, "I know. I'm asking you to say Kaddish for me." So he committed to saying Kaddish. So his father passed away, and he's very good about it every year. That particular year, he forgot. He woke up late. He got up, that he remembered later in the day. He's driving around on his motorcycle, middle of Italy somewhere. So where am I going to find a minion for my father? So he stopped and he's davening to Hashem and says, God, if my Kaddish means anything for you, please help me be able to say Kaddish for my father. So a few minutes later, there they were, 10, 9, 12, I don't know how many Hasidim, standing there at a restaurant, at a gas station in the middle of Italy, all directed from Hashem. He says, and that's how I'm here. If you want to know why I know what mincha is, so I grew up religious. Doesn't look like it, he told them, but that's the story. Yeah. So we never know. For us, in our limited vision, we don't see how Hashem runs the world. He runs it with very precision, very precise direction and control, making sure all the pieces work together in perfect synchrony. It's the ultimate symphony working together in perfect harmony. All the pieces, he seems like it's doing its own thing, but Hashem has them working together to do what the will of Hashem. Sometimes it shows up in very unusual places, like a biker davening mincha at a rest stop in Italy. Sometimes it's a little bit more obvious. But you know that I don't know. He got back on the road, but I hope he made it back. But in any case, but Hashem is taking care of us. We just have to remember, even if we don't see it, the guidance is still there. Okay.
I heard a similar story.
Yeah.
Right, it happened in an airport. I can't remember which one, but there were 9 Hevra traveling, and they needed a minion man. They didn't have a minion, so I have to do without a minion in the airport.
Okay.
Right? And there was somebody there also similar, gone off the tracks, but he saw these Hevra and he suddenly remembered that he needed to say Kaddish. So he says, "Can I join you?" So he made the minion.
Very nice.
Also, similar type of scenario. Yeah.
Little scenario. Yeah. Very nice. Yeah. Hashem runs the world. Yeah. Oh, wow. Baruch Hashem. Oh, I think my phone just died. Okay. It's a little bit of a older phone, a better phone. It's an industrial.
Maybe Baruch will ring me and he can hear.
It's about to go. It's like a 2.5 or 3G. So
Rav Hollander.
Yes.
Maybe Baruch can ring my phone and you can listen in through here.
Oh, I guess that would work. You could hear the sound on your end through your phone. If he calls you.
Yeah.
If he calls you, then great. You can hear from you, parents. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I can't reach him.
I'll call him.
Okay, thank you, Parrot. Okay, well, Parrot is ringing the Torah. Let's get started and have a drink first. We are on Daf Nun Ches Amud Beis 58b. I'm sorry, 58b, right? Noah. Yeah, very Noah. Very Noah. The second page of Noah. Right? Nun Ches Amud Beis. Right, we're at the Mishnah. New Mishnah. A little bit of a cryptic Mishnah, but okay. Have a drink. Nice and warm. Okay. Let's leave it here. Functioning phone right now. Okay. So we are on Daf Nun Ches by the Mishnah, Amud Beis on the Mishnah. Okay. A little bit of an introduction. We learned before that there are certain obligations husband has to his wife. In the next Mishnah, we're going to talk about the wife's obligations to the husband. But right now we're talking more about the obligations of the husband to his wife. One of them, he has to provide food for her. We learned that because he gives her her food, her earnings goes to him. So there's a limit to that earnings. We'll see. We're not up to that Mishnah either. There's a later Mishnah on Daf Samach Dal in the days that talks about the amount. It's Mishkal Chamesh Shloim, the weight of 5 Shloim of that amount of her leaving for the. We'll get to it. It's a certain amount, a weight of 5 shkalim of what's it called? Weaving. The word is okay. We'll get to it. It's a certain amount amount that she has to produce, and that up to that amount that he produced, that's considered that is keneged that is feeding her. He gives her food, and her earnings of that amount goes to him. There's also something called Mosar, above that. If she earns more than that, let's say it's worth, for argument's sake, 100 shekel a week. If she earns above 100 shekel, that earnings also goes to him. And in exchange for that, he gives her what's called Moa Kesef, a certain amount of money as well. We'll discuss this later, in a later Mishnah, not so long from now. Get to those details later. That he gives her that as for her spending for additional needs during the week. So there's two things that are given. There's he gives her her food, and she also gives her additional spending money. So let's call it that for Moa Kesef, let's call it. In exchange for her giving her food, she gives her earnings up to a certain amount, and in exchange for the additional above that amount that of her earnings that he gets, he gives her Moa Kesef, a certain amount of money for spending during the week. So that's just the background. Now, the Mishnah is to say as following. Let's read the Mishnah. A person is makdish. He gives it, donates it to the Beis Hamikdash, sanctifies it. The better word you use there, Yosef. Otherwise, the person who sanctifies, dedicates his wife's earnings to the Beis Hamikdash. Hareza osa v'ocheles. It doesn't become kodesh, doesn't become holy, doesn't become Beis Hamikdash, and she gets to keep it and use it for her own needs, for her own food. So this is a very strange thing. First of all, it's strange because we'll discuss this in the Gemara. The first thing strange about that, if it belongs to the husband for earnings, then it should be his, and he should be able to makdish it. He should be able to donate to the Beis Hamikdash for holy purposes. He should be able to do it. It's his. He should be able to make such a donation. But yet it says he can't yet. And the second thing is, well, let's say he can't for some reason. We'll see why maybe not later in the Gemara. If he can't, then why does she get to keep it? She should have to give it to him, and then she has to give her food in exchange. What exactly is going on here? Gemara is going to explain this. What's exactly the scenario? That he wants to be makdish, to sanctify her earnings. He can't. And so she gets to keep her earnings, and she eats from it. That's where she gets her food from. So we will discuss the case in the Gemara. It seems to be not clear exactly. We'll discuss in the Gemara what's the case. The second thing the Mishnah says, hamosar, the remainder, or the additional, the above and beyond the minimum work that she produces. If she goes beyond what she's supposed to produce for him, in terms of her earnings, that above that goes to him. Can he be makdish it? Can he sanctify that? So hamosar Rav Meir Omer Hektish. Yes, it works. And Rav Yochanan Sandler Omer Chulin. No, it doesn't work. You can't be makdish it. So we'll have to discuss this further in the Gemara. Why not? If it's his, again, why can't he, according to Rav Yochanan Sandler? And what's the machlokas? And what's the difference between Moser and the additional money and the regular earnings? So we'll have to see that. We'll see. One of the reasons it's pinned on here is whether we say that you can makdish davar shelo bo la'olam, whether you can sanctify something that isn't presently in the world, like a wife's future earnings. Can you sanctify that? It's not in the world yet. So we'll discuss that in the Gemara now. Maybe that's what Moser is. It's earnings she has not earned yet. You can't dedicate something that's not in existence. But we'll see. Maybe yes, maybe no. So this is a very vague Mishnah, and the Gemara is going to explain it as we go on. Okay. So Amr Rav Huna. Rav Huna says the following. Rav Huna is going to say an idea about whether a woman could forego on the food that her husband is supposed to provide her, and if he forgoes it, can she then keep her earnings? But the earnings are he gives her food, she gives him his earnings. So Rav Huna says yes. Amr Rav Huna Amar Rav. Rav actually says it. Rav Huna says the name of Rav. A woman could say to her husband, don't provide food for me, and I won't work, or I'll get to keep my earnings. That's an arrangement she can make, because we'll see the Gemara is going to say that the whole the obligation that Chazal created was that she then put in my clokus for that statement there, but the fact that she has to provide the obligation, let's put it that way, is for her to get food, and as a result of her getting food, she gives him her earnings, but it's not that. So therefore, it's her right to get the food, so she can be mochel, she can forego on it. So let's read it. Amar Rabbi Huna Amar Rav. Rabbi Huna said the name of Rav. Yichol isha lomer labala, eni nizonas ve'en osa. She can say, no, I'm not, don't feed me, and then I won't give you my earnings. Based on the fact, Kasavar, Rav holds, ki tiknu rabbanan mezone, when Chazal said, that's what the Gemara said, ki tiknu rabbanan mezone, when the Rabbanan enacted that he has to provide food for her, mezone ikr ma'asedeh mishum eva. When the Rabbanan enacted this thing that she gives mezonas, that's the ikr, and the ma'asedeh, her earnings, just comes along with it because of a concern he might feel some animosity, some discord between them. So the real obligation, it says here, the real enactment of the rabbis was she gets food. So she doesn't feel, hurt or put off or bad that he's doing all these things for her, not getting anything in return. So Chazal say she gets her earning. But the main thing is that she gets the food. So if she wants to, Rav says, she can forego on it. She can be mochlet. If she's mochlet, then he doesn't get the earnings. Just highlight it. So that based on that, we're going to ask some questions and discuss this further. Okay. Just the Ritva. The Ritva mentions, we learned before that included within his obligation to feed her is another obligation he has to heal her, to provide for her refuah if she's sick. So if the Ritva asks, if she forgoes on her food, does that mean she forgoes on her right to be healed or for him to pay for her refuah? So it says no, it's a standalone thing. It's born out of the obligation to feed her, but even if she forgoes on her right to get food and she keeps her own earnings, still the husband has the obligation to heal her, to give refuah to her. So says the Ritva. Okay. Meisvei. It's sorry, I didn't read the whole statement. Let's read this again. Ki tiknu rabbanan mizone ikar ma'asedeh mishum eva. The rabbis enacted that the sustenance that she has to give, that he gives her, is the main thing, and as a result, he gets her earnings, so they don't feel any discord that he's sort of one way, that he's providing everything. So therefore, if she says, "Don't feed me, and I'll keep my own," I won't give you my earnings, I'll keep them for myself. She's allowed to do that because it's her own earning. It's the obligation to provide food for her. That's the main enactment. So she can forego on it. Okay, so now the Gemara is going to ask some questions on that. Meisvei, Gemara asks a question from a brisa. Tiknu mizonos tachas ma'aseh yadeh. We had this one not so long ago. They enacted, the Chazal enacted ma'aseh yadeh tachas mizonos. They enacted that tiknu mizonos tachas ma'aseh yadeh. They enacted that she gets mizonos as a result of the fact that he keeps her earnings. That statement in the brisa that she gets fed because he gets her earnings, that sounds like the earnings is the main thing. That the husband gets her earnings. That sounds like it's the main primary thing that the enactment was, that the Gzeira was. Takana. So that sounds against what Rav was saying, that the main thing was the mizonos, that she has to feed her. She could forego on it. Here it sounds like the ma'aseh yadeh is the main thing. What she earns is the main thing. Then she can't just forego on it because it's his right to get her earning. So Ema, where it says, no, read it as follows, or learn it as follows. Tiknu ma'aseh yadeh tachas mizonos. Really, no, it's the way that the inflection, the stress is that tiknu ma'aseh yadeh tachas mizonos. It's that it's the what is the primary thing. The mizonos is what is the obligation, and the ma'aseh yadeh comes as a result of that. So really, she can't forego it. So the Gemara says as follows: Lema misayele. Let's say that our Mishnah is a proof to Rav that the woman could say that she could forego on her rights to mizonos, to him providing sustenance for her, and then she doesn't have to provide her earnings to him. From the following the Mishnah, this will help us understand the Mishnah a little better as well. Leim misayele. Our Mishnah seems to be a proof to Rav. Hamakdish ma'aseh de ishta. A person sanctifies, consecrates. Was that there? Makdish ma'aseh de ishta. He dedicates his wife's earnings to the base of Mikdash. Harei he oseh bo'chelas. It's not kodesh, it's not holy, it's not sanctified to the base of Mikdash, and she gets to keep. She continues working, and from what she eats, from what she earns, she eats. She gets to provide for herself. So that seems a little bit strange. Like, why is the hektish not good? Why is his sanctification not good? So the Gemara says, "My lav binizonis." It must be, isn't we talking about a case where he has the means, as Rashi says, he's able to afford to provide for her sustenance, but she forgoes on it. She says, "No, I don't want it. It's okay," and therefore, it's not his earnings. Her earnings are not his. She forgoed on her right to be the sustenance from the husband. Consequently, she doesn't have to give him her earnings. So therefore, that's what the Mishnah is talking about. The Mishnah seems to be talking about a case where she was forgoed on her rights to food, and he has no right to her earnings. So therefore, if he sanctifies her earnings, they're not his. He can't sanctify them. It belongs to the wife now. And therefore, it says she works and she keeps the food. That's the arrangement. That's exactly what the Mishnah seems to be talking about. It's an unusual case, the Mishnah, where she says, "I don't want." She was mochel on her food, so he doesn't have a right to her earnings as a result. Okay, and that seems to be a proof to show that if she can forgo on her mizonos and then she doesn't get her earning. So the Gemara says, "Lo, b'she'ein mizonos." No, really, the case in the Mishnah is not that. We don't have proof. The case in the Mishnah is where he doesn't have the means to support to give her sustenance, to give her food that she needs. He doesn't have the means to do it, so therefore he can't give it to her. He's not providing food for her. Then she doesn't have to give her earnings to him. So that's the reason why he can't be makdish her earnings. He can't be sanctify her earnings because he's not getting it, because he's not giving her food, because he can't provide for her. So okay, that explains the Mishnah. And we don't have a proof to rob from it, but then we ask a question on it. Iba she'ein in his owness, if the case in the Mishnah is a case where he's not providing her food, my lamemra, what's the Mishnah telling us? The case in the Mishnah would be he's not providing food for her, so therefore her earnings she gets to keep. That's obvious. If he's not giving food, you can't have an arrangement where she does all the work, he's not giving her food. Even according to the machlokas in Gittin, but even according to the opinion that says even according to the opinion Gittin there that the master of a non-Jewish slave, an Eved Ivri, could say to him, "You have to work for me because I purchased you, and I'm not going to feed you." It's a machlokas whether you can do that or not, but even according to the opinion, you can do that. That's only Hani Mili Be'Ever Kanani. That's only by a non-Jewish slave. Non-Jewish slave, you can treat him like that. The low kasev be'imach, because it doesn't use the pasuk which says imach. There's a pasuk that says Vaya ki yomer alecha lo eitzei mimach ki avcha es beisecha. See the larger print down here. As beisecha ki tov lo mimach. When a slave doesn't want to leave, like the Jewish slave doesn't want to leave his master, he's been there. Time is up. Yes, you get his ear pierced, sure. So there's an obligation to feed and provide for your Jewish slave, but not for your non-Jewish slave. When it comes to a Jewish slave, you certainly have to provide. If he's working, you certainly have to provide him food. But it's certainly your wife. She's doing your household work of weaving, whatever, wearing the string. It's a better word for it, I'm sure. We'll get to it on Samach Dalet. If she's doing that work for him, then certainly the husband has to provide food. By an Eved Kanani, non-Jewish slave, you could say, according to one opinion, you could say, you have to work for me, go door to door, collect food or whatever. By a Jewish slave, you can't do that. If he's working, you have to provide food. And certainly by a wife, if she's doing this work for you, then certainly then he has to provide food for her. So there'd be no chiddush in the Mishnah to say that if he's not able to provide food, that she doesn't give him her earnings. So that would be illegal. It would be non-halachic for her to working and not getting food. It must be that if it's such a situation that if she's working, she does not get her food unless he asks for if she's not providing food for her, that she gets to keep her earnings. Again.
Her work, her handiwork, notwithstanding, doesn't he have to provide it?
He has to. He does have to. But if he can't provide it, he just doesn't have the means to do it, then she and he doesn't, and then she does her work and then provides for her needs. She provides for herself. It's an obligation, correct? It's from the Torah. It says here, Tikkun Rabbanan. We'll see that, discuss that later, hopefully. It's an obligation of the Torah, but whatever. The nature of the arrangement is Rabbanan. Tikkun Rabbanan Mizone, Ikar Masyedem, Shumeva. Yeah, so it is in the Kesuvos. It's a Torah obligation. But if he really can't, then she gets to, then the work she does, she provides for herself. I would have thought that she has to take out a loan or something. So I don't know. Torah obligation. Yeah. I don't know. It's a good question.
If she cannot support it, and what happens?
Then she can't provide her sustenance. Then she works. She keeps her earnings, her work, and that provides herself. Well, no, for herself. I guess if she's nice, then she can give some left over to him. But yeah, we live in relative affluence. We don't know, people lived in countries like Russia, 150 years ago, and a family and a spouse, they only had one coat. Couldn't coat both of them out at the same time. Yeah, it's like so it's not so unimaginable. Anyway, so what's the chiddush of the Mishnah? So we want to say that we can't prove the Mishnah. The Mishnah is not necessarily like Rob, because maybe the Mishnah is talking about a case where he can't afford to feed her, so she keeps her earnings, and that's why he can't be makdish her earnings, because it's hers. She gets to keep her earnings, so he can't dedicate her earnings to the base of this is not his. So that's obvious, says the Gemara. It's obvious that if he can't afford to feed her, then she keeps her earnings. It's obvious. Only by a non-Jewish slave you have such an arrangement. So what's the chiddush of the Mishnah? Gemara says it's about halfway down the Gemara. First word in the line is Seifa. Seifa Itzrichle. The latter part of the Mishnah, not a very long Mishnah, the second part of the Mishnah is the chiddush. Itzrichle. Moser, Rabbi Meir, Omer, Hektish, Rabbi Yochanan Salar, Omer Chur. Second part of the Mishnah, where when we're talking about Moser, the additional earnings above the minimum that the wife has to provide her husband, if she earns those, they go to the husband. He has to provide for her weekly needs. Ma Kesef, we'll discuss that in a few blocks. We'll get into detail about that exact amounts and different opinions. But that he has to provide. So that is the chiddush. Rav Meir says you can be makdish that, you can dedicate that, sanctify that to the base of the chiddush. Yochanan Sandler says you can't. It's chula. So the case we're talking about in the Mishnah is a case where he can't afford to feed her, can't afford to provide for her, so she gets to keep her own earnings, and she gets to keep her own additional earnings above the minimum, because he can't provide. No, well, we'll discuss that in the consecration in 1 second. He can't provide for her food, and he can't provide the malkesa for spending money either. So I guess she gets to keep both. She gets to keep her earnings and anything above the minimum earnings that she's required. So he keeps both. But there's a difference, and that's the chiddush of the price of the chiddush of the seifa. Chiddush of the seifa, the novelty, the thing that the seifa is teaching us is that even though when it comes to the regular amount that she has to earn, that doesn't belong to the husband, because if he's not providing the food, then she gets to keep her earning. But when it comes to the moser, the extra amount, according to Rav Meir, even though he's not providing more kesef for spending money, doesn't provide the spending money for her, but still, technically, the moser goes to him. The additional earnings would go to him. He would have to pay her, obviously, the mal kesef would be back owed to her, that mal kesef, but technically it doesn't nullify his right to the moser. That's what Meir is telling us. It's technically has a right to it, even if he's not providing the mal kesef or spending money for her. He still has a right to the moser. Additional earnings, technically, it doesn't cancel out his right to it. Obviously, it's an equation. He has to pay for it. He has to give her that. But his rights are there technically. What Meir says, and technically she can be makdish. He can sanctify it, because technically he has a right to those additional earnings. That's what Meir holds. That's the chiddush. That's what the Mishnah is coming to tell you from the inside. Okay. We'll discuss that more. It's a complicated concept, because there's numerous things about it that are complicated, because technically she has not earned it yet. How could you say something in your possession? We'll discuss that later. Discuss some of those concepts. Okay. But so far, the Gemara got a little far down the path from where we were. The main thing we're trying to discuss was whether a woman has the right to say, to her husband, don't provide food for me, and I won't give you my earnings. I'll keep the earnings for myself. Whether she has a right to do that. Rav says, yes, she does. The main thing was that she gets her earnings. And so, if it's within her purview, it's her right to say, I don't want it, and I'm not going to give you my earnings also. That's her right to say that. See, Reish Lakish is going to disagree and say, no, the Maisi Yadayim, the earnings are really the right of the husband, and she can't just cancel it out like that. She can't just mochel on the food. She has an obligation to give it, says Reish Lakish. We'll see that in a moment. Okay, so we're up to Pliga the Reish Lakish. It's about halfway down, maybe a little bit more than half. First word in the line is Upliga. Upliga the Reish Lakish. The Pliga the Reish Lakish. And that which Rav said, that a woman could say, don't provide my food and I won't give you my earnings, Reish Lakish disagrees about that. Because we see it from something else Reish Lakish said. Reish Lakish said, with regard to Rav Meir. Rav Meir said that the Mosar, the man can make hekdesh. He can sanctify. Now, there's a problem with that. We'll see. Problem with that because the Mosar, the additional earnings, she hasn't earned yet. And there's a general concept is a discussion about it, whether you can be makdish davar shelo bol, something that's not in existence yet. Like, let's say you would say that you're makdish. We're not talking about nidarim, this meaning makdish. Or the different types of things. We talk about konamos, a different type of thing, but makdish. Not every sanctification or dedication to the Beis Hamikdash. When you makdish something to the Beis Hamikdash, you sanctify something to the Beis Hamikdash. According to many, or to most, it has to be in this world. You can't say a makdish next year is all the sheep that are born into my field next year. You can neder or something, something like that. But to sanctify, you can't. So based on that, Reish Lakish has the following question. Reish Lakish, lo tema, don't say time of the Rav Meir. The reason Rav Meir said that you could be makdish, the mosar, the additional earnings that the wife has, mishum de kasavar adam makdish davar shelo. Don't say that Rav Meir says you can be makdish it, you can sanctify additional earnings, even though she's not earned them yet, because Rav Meir holds you can be makdish, you can sanctify something that hasn't come into existence yet. She hasn't earned them yet. That's not the reason. He doesn't hold that. He holds, at least the way from our Mishnah. Ella, time to Rav Meir. The reason Rav Meir says that you can go ahead and on the earnings that have not been earned yet, the Mosar, the additional earnings, you can sanctify them, even though they're not around yet. Because according to Rav Meir, according to Reish Lakish, you can force her to do work, to earn money. So Nasa Kamarla, it's as if he's telling her, your hands are sanctified to their maker, to the creator, to Hashem. In other words, your hands, what you're going to do with your hands, the husband says, for him, on his behalf, are sanctified to Hashem, that anything you do with them, that's for me, that's coming to me, says the husband, is sanctified. So it's not that he's sanctifying the earnings. He's not being makdish earnings that are not around yet. He's sanctifying the means that the earnings are created from, her hands. He's so to speak. Technically it's not his, but he's sanctifying his rights within those hands to go ahead. That the earnings that come to us, he's sanctifying her hands, so to speak, to Hashem. So he has a right to require her, it's a better word, to earn money. So he has a right to say that anything that comes from her hands that is coming to me, the earnings, is sanctified. So he's sanctifying something that is in the world, her hands. It's a davar shebal olam. I mean, it's in this world. Her hands are in this world. So therefore, that's why it works. So why does Reish Lakish say? Rav Meir says that you can sanctify her additional earnings, even though she hasn't earned them yet, not in this world yet. How can you sanctify? It's not sanctify her earnings, it's sanctifying his rights in her hands, so to speak, her earnings. Those hands are in this world. sanctifying that, and then subsequently, anything that comes out that's produced by the hands is sanctified, and that's why it works. Yeah, but the problem is that the problem is that according to most, it seems like Rav Meir like that also now. He holds that you can't be makdish davar shelo ba'olam. It has to be physically present in the world. It has to be around to be makdish it, to sanctify it. Her earnings have not been earned yet. It's potential. It's not realized. Whatever the word is.
If you do produce it, we'll vote it.
Right. So that you may be able to do that by a kona, or would be able to do it by a kona. It's a type of neder where you say this is like a korban. That you can do, has a different rule. But by hektish has a rule that can be makdish unless it's physically around. It has to be present. It has to be present to do it. It's a theoretical thing that hasn't come into the world yet. You can't do it. Like,
Rabbi, can you hear me?
Yeah. Well, that might be the case. But the case where he is able to, assuming the case where he's able to provide for her, then there would be enough. Yeah, I'm sorry, Alan. Were you asking a question?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Are you saying that if a woman's working for herself and she doesn't want to give and she wants to support herself, then if she has, say, for example, 10 shekels over a spare money, the husband can consecrate it for her, but it's her money. It belongs to her. He can't consecrate money. It doesn't belong to him.
Okay. Yeah. No. The case we're talking about now, to make it clear, is a case where they didn't make that arrangement. I'm sorry, we have to take a step back from that arrangement. We're back to the normal setup. The normal setup is where he provides sustenance for her and she provides her earnings to him. That'd be a normal setup.
Right.
So in a normal setup like that, the additional earnings would go to her. Now, what you mentioned before is that if he does not able to provide earnings for her, that would apply also to the second part, to the Mosar. The additional earnings above that are theoretically his, even if he has not provided the Ma Kesef, the additional spending money she's supposed to, and get her additional earning. Theoretically, he has to pay her back, but theoretically, even if he's not giving her that money, that would be his, and he could be makdish, could sanctify it. In theory. That's
okay.
That's a strange concept. A lot of these concepts we're going to explain. We'll get a little bit clearer as we go along. The Mishnah leaves us with more questions than anything else, but right. Okay. So anyway, so what do we say? We said that a man, but what came out was that the reasoning for Rav Meir, according to Reish Lakish, is that he can make her hands, the use of her hands, holy, and get use from it. But what I said, the point we're trying to get out of this, before we start questioning the whole concept of sanctifying hands, is that he can force her. Rav Meir said, according to Reish Lakish, he can force her to do her earnings. He's allowed to say you're required to make your earnings. That's not like Rav. Rav said she could say, I don't want to be fed, and I'm not going to give you my earnings. According to Reish Lakish, she is required to give him her earnings. Consequently, he has to feed her. He has to feed her. So that arrangement is not within her. Not within her rights. Reish Lakish says she can't say, "Don't give me food, and I won't give you my earnings." She has to give him her earnings. Says Reish Lakish. Okay, but in any case, that's the main point we're trying to bring out from there. But consequently, we have a number of questions that. The question is the way Rav Meir, according to Reish Lakish, is setting up the Mishnah. Reish Lakish is setting up Rav Meir in the Mishnah, is that he's not sanctifying her future earnings or future additional earnings. He's sanctifying her hands, so to speak. Really sanctifying what's produced by her hands. Her hands are here now, so that's why it's able to work on future earnings. Even though you can't really makdish something that's not zlo bal olam, but it can work because he's sanctifying her hands. So the Gemara asks a question on that. It's about 2/3 down. Let me just highlight this better. There we go. It's better. Okay. About two-thirds way down. The first word on the line is la'osehem. There's a little zayin, a little ches in there, right next to it. Because the Gemara asks, "V'halo omer la." "V'halo omer la hachi." She never said that. Where Shlakish is learning there in the Mishnah is he said, I'm sanctifying your hands to Shemayim. Sanctifying your hands to their maker. That's not what was said in the Mishnah. It is a makdish ma'aseh de'ishta, person who sanctifies her earnings, what she produces. It doesn't say her hands. How could that be the meaning of what is said in the Mishnah? So the Gemara says, Kiban dishma'inan leil Rav Meir da'amar. Since we heard Rav Meir say, "Ein adam motzi dvarav levatala," a person wouldn't say something for naught. Nasa kamarla yikachio dechala say. It's as if he said it. He said, "Your hands are." Even though he said, "I'm sanctifying ma'aseh de ishta," sanctifying your earnings. What his intention was that her hands are what is physically present, her hands and what they produce are sanctified. Now, excuse me one second. Okay. And the way we know this is because of the concept that Meir holds, that person isn't motzi dvar l'vatala. He doesn't say something that he knows is not going to work. It's not the way he intends for it. He may have said something, but he wouldn't say something that's not going to be effective. If he said it, the intention must be, we assume that's what he meant, was to do it in the way that is effective. The person doesn't just say something for naught. He knows it's not going to work, saying X, Y, or Z. He means A, B, or C. So when a person said, Makdish Maisei Deishto, he's talking about the Mosar, the additional earnings, and he knows he can't be sanctified something that's not in this world yet, future earnings. It must be what he means, what his real intentions are, says, according to Rav Meir, is that her hands are sanctified. That the production of her hands, and her hands are present here at the time, is what's being sanctified. So even though he said one thing, the Mishnah says one thing, but the person says something and no, it doesn't work, it means he intends something else, intends the proper way. Here he intended the proper way is makdish, not her future earnings, makdish her hands, sanctify her hands, and what comes out of them. Okay. So Gemara asks a question now on the very principle. So we said Rav Meir holds that ein adam makdish davar shelo bal olam. Person can't sanctify something that's not in this world. That was the whole presumption. You can't sanctify something that's not around. That's what Rav Meir holds. If not present, you can't sanctify it. So you talk about our future earnings, you can't sanctify them. Is that true? Is that Rav Meir hold? We seem to hold somewhere else. We see that he says that you can't. Something not present, you can sanctify or dedicate or else we'll see in a second. The Savra of Meir ein adam makdish davar shelo bal olam. Is it true that Rav Meir holds a person can't sanctify something that's not present? But Tanya, we learned in the Brisa as follows: Ha'omer leisha, a person says to a woman, Harei ad mekudeshesli, you are sanctified to me. Not exactly like makdish to base. I think that's the same idea. You're sanctifying for yourself. Harei ad mekudeshesli la'achar she'ez gayer. You are married to me, mekudeshes, kedushin to me, after you convert. He's saying it's to a guy, but I'm sorry, that's the next one. Say he's a guy. That I will convert, he says. The guy is saying to this Jewish woman, I want to be Mekadesh you after I convert. Or after you convert. He says it to a non-Jewish woman. I want now, from now on, I'm Mekadesh you, I'm marrying you, after you convert. Says after, if you are an Eved Kanani, or she's an Eved Kanani, and an Eved Kanani is a non-Jewish slave owned by a Jew who has certain mitzvos, many mitzvos, not the time bound ones, but once he's freed, he takes on the full status, or she takes on the full status of a Jew. So then, after the every time he's freed to become the Jew, is marriageable to be married. Or if he says, "I marry you after I am freed, or after you are freed," there may be a different problem when he says "after I'm freed." That's not within his hands to do it. It's not within his purview to do it. It's in somebody else's control, not his. But whatever, it's a separate problem with that. Yomos ba'alech, or she says to a woman, "I'm marrying you after your husband dies." He's betting on the future. Osha Tomos achosech, or after your sister dies. He wants to marry the sister. You can't marry two sisters, but the chayeha is an exception to the rules. Normally, there's a normal idea that once something's an erva, someone is an erva to you, they're asar alamas. But a sister is an exception. It's the word chayeha in the pasuk. So once a sister passed, you can't marry two sisters at the same time. Yaakov did it for Roman Torah, but Yaakov Binu for Roman Torah, but once one sister passed away, you can marry the second sister. So he says to one sister, he says, after your sister passed away, I'll marry you. I take the case right. After your sister passed away, then I can marry you. He's married to one sister. So after the one sister passed away, you can marry the other one. Or the woman is false, but two brothers. One brother passed away. The woman falls to the second brother, and she's in a state of limbo, waiting for him to do yibam or chalitza. You can't be married to anyone yet, only to the yibam. So the man says to her, "I'll marry you after this fellow does chalitza with you." So all these cases are about the future. He's trying to be makdish, so to speak. He's trying to be kedushin take effect, kedushin bichal on something that's not lo bol olam. It's not present. It's non-existent. Waiting for I can't be married when the person becomes Jewish, when the person becomes available. You can't do that. But Rav Meir says, Rav Meir Omer Mukudeshes. Meir says it works. That sounds like you can makdish or do kedushin, davar shelo bol olam, to a state or to something that doesn't exist yet in this world. Sounds like he does hold like that. We went through a whole discussion to show that we said, and looking at our Mishnah, we said Rav Meir doesn't hold that. The reason Rav Meir holds what he does is not because that. So he says, right, from that brisa, you're right. It seems like Rav Meir holds we makdish davar shelo bol olam, something that's not in existence. Meha, but from our Mishnah, lekla mashmine. It can't necessarily be proven like that. From our Mishnah, we could answer Rav Meir, how can we makdish, sanctify our future earnings? We have a different reason to explain it. We can explain it that he's actually sanctifying her hands, or what she does with her hands, those earnings that come out of her hands. So you don't have to come on to the fact that Rav Meir would hold in our Mishnah that he holds davar that he can be makdish, sanctify something to lo bol olam, even though we see he holds it here. In our Mishnah, he doesn't necessarily have to come on to that. That's why I learned it like that way. Okay. Let's continue in the last couple of minutes here. Let's see if we can get to the bottom. At the bottom of it. Okay, Hamoser. Meir Omer Hektish. Meir says that he can be makdish, he can sanctify her future earning, her additional earnings. Try the future. So when is he sanctified? This sounds like a very strange discussion. Well, will explain it. Emas Kodesh. When does it become sanctified? Right away, right? No, but it's in Machloket. Rav and Shmuel, Dami Tarvayu, both Rav and Shmuel say, Moser Lachar Misa Kadosh. Only after she passed away and he inherits her, the wife passed away and the husband inherits whatever she has, it goes to him, and then that's when then it becomes hektish. Only when it comes into his possession. Rav Ada bar Ava says, Moser Michaim Kadosh. If it's his, he has the rights to those additional earnings, so he can be maftish it. He can sanctify it right away. Why have to wait till he actually inherits her? It's his. additional earnings are his rights. He can be makdish it. Why not? So it seems strange. So this is what Rav Papa was bothered by. Habi ba Rav Papa. Rav Papa was, clearing, as I say. He was questioning, trying to figure out what is talking about. In what case are we talking about? That they have this discussion. It doesn't seem to make sense. If the case where the husband is providing for her sustenance, is giving her additional spending money, for her needs, as he's required to. So then all the earnings and her additional earnings, or most of it, should go to him as well. So my time in demand Amar, in that case, what's the reason according to the opinion of Ada Barava? Rav and Shmuel says only Achlamisa Kodesh, only after she passed away has become sanctified. He's providing her all the money, he's giving her all her needs, so he should get all her earnings. So why can't he sanctify it? So maybe you'll say the case is as follows: he's not providing for her food, for sustenance. Not giving her additional spending money, in which case he doesn't have rights to her earnings or her additional earnings. If that's the case, my time in demand Amar Mechayim Kodesh. What's the reasoning for Rav Ada Barava, who says he can sanctify her additional earnings, additional earnings, even in his lifetime? It's not his. He didn't provide for her sustenance or her spending money. That earnings don't come to him. So what's the case exactly? La'olam, say rather the case must be b'mala mazonas. He is providing for her sustenance. Ve'ena mala ma'kesef l'tzarcheh, but he's not giving her additional spending money, which comes to her. So, one way. So we'll just read it now. So we'll have to. It goes on for several lines. So we'll just read the words and we'll explain it on Sunday. Rav Shmuel Savri Tiknu Mazonos Tachas Ma'aseh. Rav and Shmuel hold. Put the page just for 1 second. We'll go back to this. It's the middle of a long piece. Rav Shmuel Mazonos Tachas Ma'aseh. She gets sustenance in accordance. He gives her the sustenance, and she gives him her earnings. When Mal Kesef, and the earning money is Tachas Mosa. It's additional spending money. The Kivan the Lo Kayav La Mal Kesef, since he's not giving her additional spending money, Moser Di Daha. She gets to keep her additional earnings because the two are compatible with each other. It goes on for several lines here, so we'll go back to this. We have to line up, explain it, 6, 7 lines to explain it. So we'll do this on Sunday, God willing. Bezos Hashem. So everyone should have a good Shabbos. Thank you for joining us. Okay.